Kelly Loeffler, co-owner of the Atlanta Dream, urged the WNBA's Kathy Engelbert to scrap the Black Lives Matter signage. Her reasoning: the truth is we need less, not more politics in sports.
Colin Kaepernick used his work for political theater. If I owned a bar and the hostess announces that she's going to be protesting at work, I would fire her.
NBA superstar LeBron James is talking politics again. Must they run their mouths like that? Oh, and LeBron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
Some people like to say that politics has no business in sports. But if you look back critically at history, you'll see that sports and politics go hand in hand. And here I'll prove it to you. Let's play a game. You ready? You have 8 seconds to name 3 professional boxers from any point in history. Go. You said Muhammad Ali, didn't you? Muhammad Ali is remembered as the greatest, not just because he was a great boxer. In fact, many boxers have better win-loss records than Ali ever did. No, he's remembered as the greatest because of what he stood for outside of the ring. Because of the 3.5 years that he was barred from boxing during his prime. Because he refused to fight in an unjust war. Because he stood up for the rights of disenfranchised black men who were being drafted into military service to fight for another country's so-called freedom. At a time when black men did not have basic freedoms at home. We hold Ali in such high regard today as a man of character, as a leader, that we don't quite appreciate enough just how controversial of a character he was in his time. In 1967, Senator Robert Michael said, "I am sure history will look at Ali as the least of all men who once held the honorable title of heavyweight champion of the world." Yeah, he said that about a man whom we now only refer to as the greatest. Talk about being on the wrong side of history. That was awesome. Another example. In 1969, Curt Flood lost a losing battle for players' rights that went all the way to the Supreme Court. See, at the time that he played, teams had what was called a reserve clause, which stated that the rights to players were retained by the team upon the contract's expiration. So basically, a player was a team's property. Unless the team decided to trade them or release them, the first big league team that a player played for would be the only big league team that they could play for their entire career. The catalyst for Curt Flood came after 12 years of service, when he was all of a sudden informed that he had been traded to the Philadelphia Phillies. He likened the reserve clause to slavery, and he said of the trade, "It violated the integrity of my existence. I was not a consignment of goods." And he refused to report to Philadelphia. Which is fair, because, reasons. Teammate Bob Gibson later said that while Curt was going through these court proceedings, standing up for his rights and the rights of his fellow players, he would receive 4 to 5 death threats per day. And there was a widely held belief among fans that he was ruining baseball. Teams refused to pick him up, and he was blackballed from baseball at a time where he was batting between 280 and 300, netting nearly 4 wins above replacement, and was a 3-time All-Star. His abrupt and controversial stance wrecked his career, much like how we've seen with other athletes today. And yet, Curt Flood will be remembered more than most 3-time All-Stars because of that stance that he took. This made him a pivotal figure in not just sports history, but labor history. And he's a major reason why sports handle free agents the way that they do today. I could go on and on bringing up examples of athletes who took a stance on racial justice or political justice. I could bring up 1968 with Tommy Smith and John Carlos and the importance of this photo, except Vox already made a video on that one. I could mention Jesse Owens in 1936 and how he defied racist rhetoric in Nazi Germany. I could bring up Jack Johnson, going back as far as the 1900s and 1910s, and the way that he made a political statement with his mere bombastic presence. Or you know what? Let's set aside racial politics and bring up the Olympic boycotts in 1980 or 1984, or the Miracle on Ice, or the 1972 Summit Series, all of them expressions of Cold War era tension. Are we really gonna say that politics had no place in those games? No, because the truth is, politics belong in sports. And these fans who are vehemently saying that politics don't belong in sports, well, they aren't angry about the politics. They're angry that it's not their politics. And to those fans, I've got nothing to say to them, because they're not watching anyways. Do you think they're really gonna sit down for 6 minutes and listen to a trans person talk about sports? Come on. But, you know, I do believe that there are some people, perhaps political, perhaps apolitical, who are truly just into sports for escapism. Who, after a long day's work, just want to turn off their minds and forget about all of life's problems. And you know what? Fair. That's totally fair. But hey, escapists, look at me for a second. Ready? I'm about to impart onto you the biggest fear of missing out, FOMO, that you've ever had. Sports are like the arts. They can exist without politics in a vacuum in theory, but in reality, they are a beautiful reflection of what our political landscape is today. Politics permeate both spheres. And not only do politics permeate, but they heighten the whole experience. For example, when you watch The Dark Knight for the first time in theaters, you might have just picked up on the battle between Batman and the Joker. But when you watch it again many years later on Netflix, you start to pick up on some of the themes and how it really did make a statement for its time in history. You see the post-9/11 commentary on authority and invasion of privacy. You start to see how the Joker can stand in for social anarchy in all forms. Does viewing it through this lens now ruin the movie? Can you no longer go back and enjoy the action and the tension and the reversals of fate and fortune? No. In fact, it probably does the opposite. It gives you a reason to go back and love it more. Now bring it back to sports. If politics have been and always will be a part of sports, then why choose to reject that? Like, it will actually take you more energy to complain and make angry Twitter posts than it would be to just simply embrace it. Like, this is an incredible moment in time. So pay attention to the conflict. Cheer on your heroes. Embrace that we are witnessing history. Don't default to the wrong side of it. If you embrace the political, you'll be a happier fan and your team will win more games, and that is science. Thanks for watching. I really did enjoy making this one. Click subscribe if you love me. Click subscribe if you hate me and you want to leave transphobic comments as soon as I upload. That's a good tactic. Do what your heart desires, boo. I support. Love your squad, respect your rivals. You never know when you'll end up on the same team.